Oh, hang on a second. Hold on a second. Forgot a light. Got a light. Yeah. There. There we go. Sorry about that. Welcome to World NFL Starts and Ends. I'm your host, Jacob. We're going to just leave that in. So, this actually fits pretty well with how the Jets have been run, how the Giants have been run. There's no, quality to this. So, let's start with the Jets. So, if you don't know who's the picture that I put on the video, that is the former general manager of the Jets, Joe Douglas. Joe Douglas was fired yesterday afternoon. It was around noontime. And I went back and I tried to think of reasons of why they would do this. And I couldn't. And from the general consensus that I get from Jets fans, they don't know the reason for doing this. They know Joe Douglas has been kind of hit and miss with his choices of drafting and trading for players, but they've said, we don't understand why this move made sense to do. Why did it make sense to get rid of him? And the only thing I can come back to is that this was an Aaron Rodgers kind of led situation. And whether Aaron is directly or indirectly involved doesn't affect any situation. But because he's in New York, it is. It's affecting every situation. There was a report that came out today, and I only saw this on CBSSports.com, so I'm going to try to pull it up here real quick. And we're going to go to here. Let's see if I can find it. The report was right here. It says Jets owner, according to this report, Jets owner Woody Johnson wanted to bench Aaron Rodgers after Week 4 loss. The report starts as Rodgers come back from his Achilles injury of last year. The Jets starting quarterback, but apparently before the first month even started, Woody Johnson was not impressed from what he saw on the field of the quarterback position. Following the loss to the Broncos, the 40-year-old Rodgers was sacked 5 times and just threw for 225 yards and 0 touchdowns. If you remember, this game was a rain issue. So why were they trying to throw in the beginning? I have no idea. After the game, Johnson reportedly called all hands on deck meeting. So this was before the Robert Saleh firing. Calling his brother Christopher, team president Jaime Athal, I don't know, and several members of the coaching staff, including former head coach Robert Saleh, offensive coordinator Nathaniel Hackett, defensive coordinator, now interim head coach Jeff Ulbrich, they were all in attendance. Johnson suggested to everyone the team should bench Rodgers for Tyrod Taylor, thinking it would give a better chance for them to win. Apparently, the coaching staff thought Johnson's idea was crazy, although Rodgers has struggled. The Jets were 2-1 heading into that game, with Rodgers throwing 5 touchdown passes over the first 3 games. Jets also likely would have won the game in Denver if Greg Zuerlein didn't miss the field goal in the final minute. It goes on saying, if the Jets had benched him, the 4-time MVP, it would have been the most shocking move in NFL history, with the Jets making the trade for Rodgers. It continues on saying, even though he was not benched, Johnson's decision created some tension in the organization, and just 9 days later fired Robert Saleh. After dumping Saleh, Johnson threw some shade at his coach by calling the 2024 Jets one of the most talented teams he had ever assembled, which I don't disagree. The names on this list is insane. Continuing on, which basically led to the conclusion that it was all Saleh's fault and not anyone else's fault. Woody Johnson said at the time of Saleh's firing, "This is one of the most talented teams I have ever assembled by the New York Jets. I wanted to give this team the most opportunity to win. This season, I feel that we had to go in a different direction. That's why I did that." 1 week after Saleh's firing, the Jets made the trade for Davante Adams, trying to salvage their season. They were 2-4. Now after the trade, they're 1-4. Now on the Douglas situation, Johnson made the trade for Douglas, or made the decision to fire Douglas, who had very little power in the organization at this point. It's not surprising 6 weeks after Saleh was dumped, Douglas was also fired. So, and they go on and on about how, well, we've already said that Rodgers wants to come back, and Woody Johnson may not be running the team because he was the ambassador of the UK, yada, yada, yada. But it does make it interesting. I'm not saying the move, because it was the final year of Douglas's contract, but for most consensus reasons, every Jets fan was like, why? Why was this move made now? Because you look at the numbers, they're 3-8. They're 3-8. Okay, they haven't had a bye week yet. I think their bye week is next week. They haven't had a bye week yet. They're 3-8. Their quarterback is really bad. It hasn't played well. The team hasn't played well. And I go back to, remember when Saleh was fired and then the Jets had played those 2 games against the Bills, and I can't remember the second team they played. And ESPN put up that graphic, and we did this not too long after, saying there was the before Saleh was fired to after Saleh was fired. We call it BSF, ASF. Before Saleh's firing, after Saleh's firing. And what we found was, with Saleh there, that defense only gave up 17 points a game. Without Saleh, that defense gave up anywhere between 28 to 30 points a game. It doubled. It nearly doubled. It shows that this defense has actually gotten worse without Saleh than they were with Saleh. So there is a definite issue there. We can complain that they haven't run the ball a lot, that they try to throw the ball. We just said it. I just had it on my phone here. We just had it right here of Saleh. They had Rodgers throw for 200 yards in the rain. Like, that's not good quarterbacking. If you say, well, 200 yards, it's only that. Yeah, in the rain. You're not going to get much success in the rain. It is what it is. It's not football. It's not a pass-happy football game. It isn't. You're going to run the football. It's going to be nasty. And if you recall, when Salah was there in that game, how many turnovers did that defense get? They got a lot. I think they got like 3. They did everything they could do. You can't blame the head coach for the situation you were in. You can't blame the head coach for the situation you were in. That was not a head coaching situation. That was a team situation that the offense needs to be addressed, not the defense. And now it's not good at all. You don't have an offense. The offensive scheme is bad. The offensive line has not played well. Aaron Rodgers has not played well. They haven't run the ball well. You have Breece Hall and Braylon Allen. You should run the football. It just makes logical sense. You bring in Devontae Adams, somehow you get worse. Like, it makes no sense. None of this makes sense. The defense is bad. Like, you got a good linebacking duo, and somehow that's bad. You got a good defensive line, somehow that's bad. You got a good cornerback. You got a great cornerback room in Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed. Somehow that's bad. You can't keep doing this and saying, okay, there's something got worse. Either they overall got worse or something else happened. And I don't know what that is. I really don't. I can say coaching and I can say playing, but I don't think they believe in what they are selling. Now, moving over to the team, if we just kind of turn the things a little bit, let's talk about the Giants. So the Giants made a decision this week benching Danny Dimes in favor of Tommy DeVito. We talked about this. Tommy DeVito, I still think it should have been Drew Lock, but it's my opinion. But they went with Tommy DeVito. So the reason I'm talking about this is that it wasn't the move. The change needed to happen. Dexter Lawrence, better known as Sexy Dexy, was asked about what did he think of the Daniel Jones benching. And he said, I didn't think he got a fair opportunity. Where he got that, I have no idea. You got 5 years with this guy. 5 years. 5-6 years with this guy. You can't have a better opportunity. You've been a starter for 5 years. You've been the starter. For 5 years. It doesn't look great. The offense is bad. The defense can only do so much. I mean, yeah, you say, okay, Daniel Jones, the numbers look fine. The completion percentage looks fine and all that stuff. Because they've had to say, we have to put this in a vacuum in a way so he doesn't look so bad. But you can't win games that way. They're in a division where they lost to the Cowboys. They've won 2 games. Like, you got to give a spark at some point. Or a flare, something. Something needs to happen. This is the thing that needs to happen. So I don't understand where he's getting this. We all knew. Everyone knew. Everyone except the Giants knew this, I guess. I don't know. Everyone knew this except the Giants. Said, They need Saquon. Saquon's the only thing they got. Daniel Jones is not going to do anything. He's not. Saquon's all they have. And if they get rid of Saquon, that's going to be a terrible thing to do. And that's what they did. It's what they did. You put this on yourselves. You really did. Because that was the guy you had to keep, not Daniel Jones. We all knew that. For whatever reason, the Giants did it. Maybe they were too ignorant or too naive, one or the other. But either thing is not a good thing. It really isn't. Now, let's talk about this Cowboys game. The Cowboys and Texans played on Monday Night Football, with the score ending 34-10, Texans. Before we get into whose fault it is and all that stuff, I want to talk about the stadium for the beginning. When I was looking at my computer, finishing up on stuff before the game was going to start, and I got a notification on my phone saying, troubles in Dallas. And I was like, what? Or troubles for Monday Night Football, something like that. Actually, I can grab it. Hang on. Let me grab it real quick. Let's see. I'm looking. Let me see if I can find it. I can't find it for the meantime. But anyway. What happened? They said troubles in Dallas or something like that. And I was thinking, oh, okay, it was the players. Because it hasn't gone well. It was players, it was coaches or something. No, a piece of steel, like plating, fell from, because the Cowboys were going to open the top of the stadium for the first time in 2 years. They haven't done it in 2 years. They're going to open it up. And this process takes like about half an hour to do. It takes about 15 minutes for one side, 15 for the other side. They had it open, and then a piece of steel fell on not in the field of play, but on the out of bounds line. So how it's lined up, you have the stands are like backed up. So they're about, I want to say 30 yards, maybe a little more, but they're about 30 yards away from the field. A piece of steel landed right in front of that and nearly hit the producer of Monday Night Football. No one was hurt, thank God. But that piece of steel fell. So they took it away. The group of people who took it away. And another piece fell. This time it didn't fall onto the field, though. It fell onto the catwalk. So when you have a stadium like this, which is a dome, it's a catwalk you have up there. So someone had to climb up there on this catwalk, and they didn't take the piece of steel. They bolted it to the catwalk or something. And when the game ended, at some point, they went back up there, unbolted it, and took the piece down. This all happens before the game starts. To the point that they decided the best course of action was to close the stadium. When it rains, it pours, as the old saying goes. That's what this is. When it rains, it pours. That's what happened. That's before the game starts. That's You can't make it any more of this season than that happening. You really can't. And when the game started, I mean, Texans went down the field, scored a touchdown. Dallas gets a first down, and then can't do anything with it. Go for a fake punt. I didn't have the problem with the fake punt. I had a problem that they threw him the ball 5 yards short of the actual line of the game. That was my issue. But the Texans didn't do anything with it. Turn the ball over. Okay. The ball back. Then you turn the ball over. But it was kind of this back and forth game of this. And then Dallas does score a touchdown. The first touchdown scored at AT&T Stadium since week 3. Actually, it was the same guy who scored. Excuse me. The same guy who scored. So Cavante Turpin, the one guy who scored in week 3 was the guy who scored. And who would have thunk a guy who can actually run, a guy who has speed, they put him on a slant route to get him open immediately, throw him the football, and let him go. And that's what they did. And he scored. My God. My God. It's that simple. Don't just run curl routes. Don't just run deep balls for no reason. Do the simple things to help your quarterback out. Now, the rest of the game was bad. Was close. We got through the half. It was close. And then it just started to get weird. Texans go score. And then you have a weird fumble play. Quarterback fumbles. Your rookie left tackle decides he wants to pick the ball up and not just land on it. Picks it up, tries to run. He fumbles. It gets recovered by the Texans in return for a touchdown. And the dam blew. Because after that point, your defense had only given up 20 points in the entire game, and they were in the third quarter. Your defense did its job. They gave you a chance. They begged you to do something. They begged you to do something. And you couldn't do anything. That's the problem. They begged you. Do something. Do something. And they couldn't. You can look at the stat. I think Cooper Rush went 32 of 55 for, I think it was 250, 350. My bad. So let me get actually the numbers right here. So it was 32 of 55. I want to get the numbers right. Let's do. Okay. Yeah, let's go. Thing. So it was 32 55, 32 completions, 55 total pass attempts for 354 yards, touchdown and pick. That's what the stat line says. It really should have been worse. Because he got sacked 5 times, so he dropped back 60 times, which what is Mike McCarthy doing that you're going to have your backup quarterback throw the ball 60 times for no reason? The offensive line is bad. They got banged up. Your rookie left tackle gets banged up. Your all-pro left guard gets banged up. Your future Hall of Famer right guard, who hasn't played to his level of expectation, got banged up. All on, within the fourth quarter. It was bad. And on a short week, they played 3 games in 11 days. You obviously know they're probably not going to play at least 1 game. That's problem. But it wasn't that. It was the fact that Cooper Rush nearly threw 5 interceptions. The only reason he didn't is because of drop. They had a drop pick from Bullock. They had a couple of drop picks from Stingley. No, one he dropped, and the other one, CeeDee Lamb ended up having to play defense on the play because they ran a double move, and CD doesn't get to the outside of him, gets to the inside. Stingley's in great position. But if the ball's thrown to the inside, CD has a chance. Instead, the ball's thrown to the outside. And CD has to play defense, and he ends up getting pass interference on the offense because he couldn't do anything. And then on the last one that I saw was the newly acquired Jonathan Mingo has to play defense on one because it's thrown so far that he has to play defense. The things that they are doing, it just doesn't make sense. It's a failure of your coaching staff. It's a failure of your offense. It's a failure. What do you want this defense to do? What do you want them to do? You said, okay, they can't get pressure. Michael Parsons has been there. They've gotten pressure. Marion Overshown's playing his tail off. He's gotten pressure. What do you want him to do? What do you want them to do? I don't get it. And it got to the point that the commentators even said that. It's what do you want these guys to do? And they talked about how Jerry won't quit on the season. I think they should at this point. They got 7 games to go. And they play 3 games in 11 days. I know they're not going to play Trey Lance this weekend. Cowboys have already said it will be Cooper Rush. I'm assuming they'll play Cooper Rush again on Thanksgiving. But in the distance between that game and the game against Cincinnati, which is about 11 days, I'm assuming that's when you go and think about Trey Lance. I'm assuming. Because it can't get any worse. It really can't. If they lose to the Giants, that would be 7 in a row. There's 2 games that you can look and say, okay, Jerry, that's maybe when you make the move. If you do. Which would be the Giants and the Panthers. Because for whatever reason, everyone gets fired when they face the Panthers. I don't know. Someone gets fired. Someone gets fired, someone gets demoted. Something happens. So then, or the Giants. Because that's not pretty. The frustrating part is, I had family texting me and telling me, saying, it's like the Cowboys give up. It's like they give up. They gave up at a point. And I'm like, yeah, they gave up at a point because their offense can't do anything. And the defense is holding the defense is way less talented than the offense is. And they're holding their own. The reactions you're seeing from CeeDee Lamb and Michael Parsons, they're trying. They really are. That's the frustrating part. You have guys like that who are really good football players that are trying. And yet the team can't win, they can't move the ball. There's constant miscommunication of what a guy's supposed to do. It's just, we talked about this a few weeks ago, about how we said the Cowboys are still having miscommunication issues. That's stuff that usually gets cleaned up by October. We're November. We're late November, we're still having miscommunications. Not miscommunications as in, we don't know what route we're supposed to run, which they should. But miscommunications as in, we don't even know where to line up. We don't know how many people are in a huddle. We don't know how to line up properly. It's just on and on and on. It's exhausting. Every Cowboys fan is exhausted by it. Because this shouldn't be how it should go. But this is what you paid for. This is what you're getting. And you better like it. It's like, before we move on, it's like this. It's like, for years, you've bought a $20 steak. It's good. It's really good. And then one year, you decide, we're not going to do that. We're going to buy a $2 steak. It's hard to eat. You can't eat it. It's what the Cowboys are. They're tougher than a $2 steak. They're not going to beat you if they can't. They're not going to beat you if you actually have an offense. Texans let you hang around. Couldn't do anything. Don't let the end score be indicative. It is what it is, but that's pretty exact in my opinion. Now, let's get to a preview of Week 12. There you go. Let's go. There you go. So, let's do, the Cowboys play Washington at 1 o'clock. Dallas at Washington. Washington favored by 11. This game is also being covered by Joe Davis and Greg Olsen. This is the second time they have done a game. I think they said only the third time, second or third time that the Cowboys have not had the A team. Like, it's not a good group. It really isn't. I'm taking Washington to win. I have no faith in Dallas. I have no faith. The offense is bad. You can't run the ball. You didn't try to run the ball. Like, there's issues. So give me Washington with a score of 31-10, and that will pretty much be it. Next up, Lions at Colts. Colts plus 7.5. Colts have played well last week. Lions, for whatever reason, can't not destroy you. It's just what it is. Lions are going to win. Over-under is actually 50. It might be more than 50. Detroit might get 50 on their own. So, give me Detroit 35-21. That's what I would take. 35-21. Next up, Carolina versus Kansas City Chiefs. Actually, KC is visiting Carolina. Plus 11 for Carolina. 43 is the over-under. Bryce Young is going to start. Have you guys realized that? I don't know if you've really realized, but we'll watch any Carolina and Panthers games. When Bryce Young came back and played, he's actually played pretty well. He's turning the ball over still a little bit, but he's actually playing very well. he's scoring points, he's doing positive things, and as a quarterback, you can see he's learning that it helped him a little bit to sit and understand what he's supposed to do. So I still think Kansas City's going to win. They're going to bounce back. But I think Carolina, the future could be bright for them. But give me KC. It will be a close game because that's the only games KC can play this year with the score of give me 20. I'll say 2010 KC. I'd be very disappointed if KC loses this game. Just my opinion. Next up, New England at Miami. -7 for Miami. This is kind of where we are. The Eagles are at a certain level. They're 8-2. The Cowboys are 3-7. The Patriots are 3-8. The Dolphins are 4-6. But they still have a chance to catch second place in their division. They are second place in their division. They still have a chance. Give me the Dolphins. I just don't like the matchup. Tyreek, Waddle against the cornerbacks of the Patriots. No. Give me the Miami Dolphins. Scores 24 to. I'm gonna get it close. 24-20. Next up, San Francisco at Green Bay. 2.5-point favorites Green Bay is. This is a game, if you're San Francisco, you gotta win. You gotta win this. Because you've played too many games where you've lost in a row. You lost to Seattle, so that's your third divisional loss. Actually, 2 of your 3 divisional losses are at home, so that's a problem. You don't have an edge on anybody right now. So this is going to be a game San Francisco needs to win. I don't know if they win. I don't know. Right now, I'm going to take Green Bay because I haven't seen anything from San Francisco. Green Bay wins, scores 28-20. We'll see if Travis Ward plays in this game. Prayers to Travis Ward's family. They're going through a rough time right now. So prayers to Ward and his family. Last 2 games we got is Eagles at Rams. Sunday Night Football. Rams game +3. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the Rams in this game. Only because of the fact I don't see how they stop Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. I don't see it. The Eagles are like one of those weird teams. You know, they played Tampa earlier in the year and they couldn't beat them. And the Rams are one of those teams that they show out at times. So I'm going to say the Rams win and they get an edge on San Francisco again. And they win the game. Give me the score of 28-24. And final game, Monday Night Football. It is the Harbaugh Bowl. Number 2. Harbaugh Bowl. Ravens at Chargers. I think it's +3 for it's +3 for the Chargers. Depends on what Chargers team shows up. It depends on what Ravens team shows up, to be honest with you. Because if the Charger team that showed up in the first half of the Bengal game, they're going to kill Baltimore. But if it's the Charger team that showed up in the second half, Baltimore's going to kill them. And the same thing goes for Baltimore. If it's the Baltimore team that showed up against Washington, they will kill them. But if it's the Baltimore team that showed up against the Browns or the Steelers, they'll lose to them. So it's kind of either way. It's honestly kind of interesting to watch this game. If I want to see what exactly happens, I think just the way this goes, it'll be interesting. But give me the Chargers. Give me the Chargers to win in a nail biter. And they win the game 31-28. Give me that. And that is it for NFL World. Let me know in the comment section who you have winning this week. And also, should the Cowboys just decide it's time to tank? Let me know in the comment section below. For NFL World, I'm Jacob Hebert. Out.